Hey, my name is Chris, and this is your beautiful reading for Leo, and it's the whenever you find it in 2026 reading. Yeah, and I went outside, obviously, and I hope you can hear me all right. And I'm doing just a let's just see what comes up reading. So let's just dive in and take the 10 of Swords. The old version of yourself done, right? There's an old way of thinking, an old way of, looking into the world, seeing the world. It's over. 10 of Swords. I hope you can see this. It's totally over, and now it's about restoring balance. So let's just see what else comes up. There's the Death card, right? I mean, as if it wasn't obvious enough, right? There's the 10 of Swords and the Death card, so that's definitively over. Swords energy, that's consciousness, that's the thinking mind. A different worldview or an old worldview is just freaking over. And let's just see. There's the balance, beautiful contrast, right? The balance, you bring yourself back into balance. There's the Ace of Cups, loving yourself, respecting yourself, having healthy boundaries, communicating, not just communicating these boundaries, but actually create some freaking discomfort if somebody oversteps them, right? Or just don't let people into your life who might overstep them in the first place, right? That is self-care, that is self-love. In action, then you should meditate, breath work every day, half an hour if you can, 5 minutes if you've never done it. You can do that. 5 minutes, breath work, 10 seconds in, 20 seconds out. That is the Two of Pentacles, right? Balancing your consciousness. Why do you need to balance it? Well, we kind of went through hell, right? And it's over. But do not go back there. Do not go back to the old version of yourself. Maybe if you're resonating with this channel, you're more on the empathic side, right? So maybe you went to narcissistic abuse. Maybe you were too kind to people. Maybe you were saying yes when you meant no. All that. And all that old version of yourself is just over. And you owe it to yourself not to go back to that old version of yourself. Carve out time in your day, in every day, not just on the weekend for an hour or something like that, but every day for joyful creation. Whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you love to do, actually, do that. And I'm preaching this in 2026 because it was very hard to do that in 25, but 26, you are leaving your little protected area, your little protected zone, that's the Wounded Warrior, that's the 9 of Wands. And yeah, the wound is already healed. What wound? The wound that you might have gotten from that, right? Being disappointed by life, by an old version, an old concept of yourself. We had Pluto in Pluto in Capricorn actually since 2008, and since 2008 the financial crisis hit, right? And it was pretty tough, and you had to double down on your efforts to, had to run faster and faster just to stay at the same place, and not fall behind, because everything was speeding up so heavily that everybody was just running all the freaking time, and 2 jobs and whatnot, right? And barely making it, and everything was getting more expensive, and people were ripped off left and right, and you were just saying, okay, maybe it's me, maybe I'm not doing enough, maybe I just run faster, maybe I just cut off one arm, maybe I just, and that old version of you taking the bait of the narcissist, taking the bait of this effed up system that is basically not designed for you to make it, but it is actually designed for you to die trying to make it. It is very, very, very hostile and destructive towards human beings, right? Maybe it's different for Neanderthals, I don't know. But for human beings, it sucks really much, right? And this is this approach where we kind of try to, just double down on our efforts. But this is over. We're no longer participating in this bullshit of our own enslavement, right? This is over. And, when you speak the truth in revolutionary times, that's what Orwell said, speaking the truth is an act of revolution, or a revolutionary act in times of oppression. And, standing up for yourself has many forms. You can always say, okay, I'm no longer participating in this, and you don't need to be loud about it, right? It's not necessary, but it needs to end. You need to play along in a system that is not designed for you to flourish, but it is designed for you to destroy yourself. No longer participating in that. And, maybe you fell into this victim role or this victim story. Oh, it's also bad and people treated me the wrong way and nana. But this is an empath channel, and empathic people need to hear this as well, right? To some extent, you're always that's a hard thing to say, and I should be very careful how I say it. If something bad happens to you, rape, torture, mutilation, whatever, you're a victim. That's just how it is, right? And you can't deny that to yourself because it's just the truth. But if you stay at that place forever and make it if you make it kind of the central part of your self-narrative, if that makes any sense, just the way you narrate yourself, right? If that story of the victim is the central part of it, then you're taking away joy and happiness from your life, because you don't want to stay in that lower frequency, in that victimized frequency. So when I say this old version of yourself and we were ripped off left and right, that's totally true, but it's totally over. So you're no longer participating in that. Yes, you have been victimized, most likely in the last 9 or 10 years, most likely since 2008, because that was kind of the time of complete madness, and the old system was just, you see it every day on the news, what the old system is doing, right? But you can lament, I should say, all day about that. Don't make it your story. There's something better for you. And that is the King of Swords, the King of Discernment, realizing, okay, that was shitty, and I totally, but I no longer participate in it. There is something better, healing yourself, and you owe it to yourself not to, first of all, stay in that mode where you just say yes when you mean no, and things like that, and not defining yourself as some sort of wounded warrior, right? And at the same time coming to that realization and discernment, actually, King of Swords, right? Seeing it clearly that you deserve better, Ace of Swords, and that's the moment of healing. And we are in 2026, so it's not 2025 again. It's not the year of hell where you get punished for not being an asshole who can't count till 3. But it's 2026. It's a new paradigm. It's the first year where the new system is stronger than the old system, and we will see that in the next few, in 2026 it will play out. So 6 of Pentacles, receiving something back from the universe. And the 6 of Pentacles is always this card where I say, if you have received a lot, if you got a new Mercedes and everything went super well in the last 9 years, and you're most likely a narcissist. But maybe there are a few decent people who had a good time in the last 9 years. If you have received a lot, by all means, maybe you even deserve it, right? I'm not denying that there's a small, but still a possibility for that. If you have received a lot, then you should give something back. And if you have given a lot or taken a lot of BS, right, it is time for you to receive something good. But you have to, it's nobody's coming to save you, so you have to do it yourself, right? That's not what people want to hear when they look at tarot card readings, but you have to take responsibility for your life. And there's the Strength card. Strength is not just strength in the sense of endurance and physical strength, because this person, this lady here, is not fighting the lion. She would lose if she would fight the lion, right? she's taming the lion, and in taming the lion, I mean taming your victimhood story, and taming that very typically empathic tendency to please people or not disturb people, but be nice and compliant. You know, that's kind of a condition from childhood maybe, and in this society in general. Not going back there, you know, not getting overwhelmed by these impulses, either aim to please impulse or you know, seeing yourself as the victim and telling that story. No, taming it, working with it. Meditation, breathwork, that's what I always recommend. And let's just do 2 more. There's the 8 of Cups. I would even like to take it, but let's just see. Yeah, and then there is this wonderful combination, and this comes up again and again. There's the not the High Priestess, the Empress actually comes up in 2026 readings all the time. And here in the smaller readings, which is now pretty much summer-ish 2026, the Page of Cups and the Knight of Wands shows up. So doing what you love and developing passion for that what you love, right? And just being that and giving it time, create it, make it a daily practice of what you love, whatever it is, and then be a little playful with it, have fun with it. There's the beautiful page of, the Page of Cups, which is kind of the unexpected thing that you just like to do, right? It doesn't need to be reasonable, it doesn't need to be, you know, it doesn't need to check any boxes or anything. You can just, you know, being you in a way that you just love to do, right? And that's beautiful. And do that and give that more energy. Knight of Wands has a bad rap in my readings often, but I'm getting to know this guy from a different perspective, because he's a little naive, but he's also very playful, and he's kind of the playful side of passion. There's the side of passion where you suffer for your passion, and then there's the side where you can just play with your passion and be joyful and enjoy it, right? So what is the playful side of your passion? There are always 2 sides of your passion. One that brings suffering, you know, that's kind of it's how it starts, right? You suffer for your passion, right? To some extent. That's what I say, when you learn how to ride the bike, you most likely fall down. I mean, you know, and that hurts, even if you wear a helmet or whatever, right? But if you learn to ride your bike, you fall on your face or on your arm or on your knee or whatever, right? So it's going to hurt. That's the suffering for passion part. But eventually you learn how to ride your bike, and then you just have fun with it, right? And this passionate way of not suffering for your passion, but having fun with it, is what the Knight of Wands represents. And there's so much good stuff. So you're coming from a dark place, you realize true discernment, right? This is reason, this is the intellect. I'm not going back there, right? This is an old version of yourself that is just over. I'm not going back there. There's something better for me. Joy, happiness, you owe it to yourself to make joyful creation, doing what you love, a daily part of your life. And if in summer 2026 or whatever, you just feel like, bottom of the deck is the Fool card, by the way. If in summer 2026 all you want to do is to just sit there and drink tea and stare out of the window or whatever, if that's part of your healing process, then by all means do that. But eventually you will come out of this, and it's time and very reasonable to come out of your shell and be yourself and be playful with what you love. That's the new beginning. You might still have some BS job that pays the bills, right? But disengage from it as most as you can. And, you know, they're not doing anything for you. Why should you, you know, do anything for them? So that's just how it is, and and you owe it to yourself. I don't want to finish with this negative idea. And maybe you have a decent job, and not all bosses and employers, people who employ you are neoliberal assholes. But there's a tendency, there's a correlation, not a causation, but a correlation maybe. So, but having said that, I'm bitching along. That's not what this reading should be about. This reading should be exactly, you see how it goes, right? I just took the bait of the victim story, right? That's the 9 of Wands, right? That was the 9 of Wands speaking. Oh, it's also bad, and they're all assholes, and they all exploit you, and nana. That's the victim story. That's the 9 of Wands, and I fell back into it, right? But my King of Swords consciousness caught me in doing it. And I realized, okay, I'm not punishing myself, I'm not fighting myself. These feelings have their reason why they're here, and they need to be expressed at time. But eventually you catch yourself doing it and not fighting it, but being compassionate enough to yourself to say, okay, that's part of the healing process, but let it be the healing process and not stay there, right? In bitching about how bad everything is and used to be and blah, blah. No, but arrive at joyful creation, create something, have fun with it, by all means, be whimsical and witty, but, don't fall back into that. And that's all I got, and I hope it resonates with you. And now the wind comes and blows away my cards if I'm not careful here. So that's all I got, and I hope it resonates with you. Share, like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think about it. And there's the summer reading for you to check out, and the yearly reading, and that's all I got. Now, goodbye, my friend. Ciao.